All right, let's do some more windows. We got the center all done. Oops, put that up there. And we got these two rows here, and we're just working our way out. Everything in the back's done, like from here, yeah, from like here on both sides. Actually, we're up to here on all the windows. But what I did is I just did rows. We, of course, had to do the centers first, and then I came out here and did everything on the upper saucer. Pretty much what's inside these LED strips. We just slowly try to actually put it in the hole instead of just blobbing it on top. This little applicator helps. And then I try to hit around the edges so it has something to hold on to. So we pretty much fill the entire window hole. But you kind of got to dab and press and kind of push it in. Yeah, but these are the hardest ones on the ends. And I'll end here, and then we're in the clear of this. Oop. Bottles get side heavy. And then you just come over and look. Let's see how they're doing. If you have some that are over peaking, you can give them a quick wipe. Especially if you give them a quick shot. Now, I don't know how well, you definitely wouldn't want to shine this UV light at your eye. Kind of why you wear sunglasses from the sun is UV protection. I do have glasses, so I try not, if it's reflecting a lot off of here, I notice just my vision just feels a little weird. So I do have glasses that came with my Elegoo curing stations because it has a wand so you can go up inside hollow parts. Or any UV protecting sunglasses or glasses that you may have will help. But if it doesn't fill all the way up to the top as well as I want to, I use the thin and dab that in there, give it a quick wipe, and then, you know, and then cure it. And it cures real fast. Like 3 seconds is all you have to hold the light on for that. Like I said, it always helps, especially with those corner ones or the ones on the end of the saucer. Hit them with a little bit of a. Maybe I should cure what I just did really quick. Take a little bit of this thin. You can fill them up. So you just give them a quick and beautiful. And this stuff does wipe clean, um, especially on a glossy finish. I should be using a paper towel, but and I have for a lot of it, but sometimes I think the paper towel grabs too much. That's basically it. At least the bottom of the saucer we only have to do really just a 3 section rim. So that should go quick. And then we also I want to add a little blue to these back windows. But I won't bore you with the rest of this. We'll keep on going. Okay. Windows are done on the bottom too. That went really quick because they only had this ring and a few in the center. Those even came out well. Those look really good. And I got to paint over these because I started painting a detail there, and the photo etch takes care of that anyway. So, or the decal, Aztec decal takes care of that. So we'll just hit that dark gray with the hull color again. Because what we're going to do is I was just going to have these wires come right up in and attach, but then that means before I attach the top saucer, then I'd have to attach this. And then I'm dealing with Aztecing with this attached to the back. And Aztecing this with this attached. And I'd like not to do that. So the other ones I won't. I'll just make jumpers. Normally, on like I said, on the big 350 TOS or the refit, you can get down in here. I'll usually use the drive section. Plus, a lot of times on those, the deflector dish goes on last. So you can kind of pull all your wires out there, connect them, tuck them in, and then just put the deflector dish on. But with this one being so small and the way this dish has to go in first, we can't do that. So we were doing our attachments up here. That's why I did it this way. But I think if I make this hole a little bigger, that way I have no problem shoving wires back in. And we'll just cut these a little shorter. But that way, because we're going to solder those connections and make sure and hit them with some shrink tube, we want to make sure I have plenty of room just to shove them up in here. Because this will have the most room with being a cavity that we can have some wire. So what we're going to do is jumper some wires to make these longer, or just replace them. I could probably just straight up replace these. Oh yeah, I should probably widen this hole just a hair. Just a hair. I'll feel much better if I do. Come in from this way. I mean, it doesn't really matter because this is all going to be hidden. So maybe we'll go this way. It's getting dull. Turn it up a little faster. I have it slow for doing the window holes. What I need is some stability. So I like how it feels when it's in a lower gear. I gotta use something to give me some strength without it grabbing any of the wires. And hit it from the other side to clean it up. There we go. I'll just feel a whole lot better with a little bit of a bigger hole there. Probably shouldn't sit and drill there if it falls. That way we have no snags with the shrink tube that's going up through there or anything like that, or if I want to bundle the hole. And we'll make it so it's just enough that you can pull them apart, but not so much that you're shoving a ton of wire that's just going to coil up inside the saucer. And usually what it'll do is it'll end up pressing against a window, and you'll see a big red wire or yellow wire in your window. Oh, we're going to do this. Yeah. But this is how I usually do it, with tails sticking out. And another thing I love about this wire is I don't even need my strippers. Just grab it with your fingernails and just pull it. Alright, let's make this. And what I usually like also to do is I can always tack that so we don't have any of this pulling, which is I should have done with the drive section. Trying to see which way I twisted those wires. I usually have a common way, but sometimes I don't. There might even be enough solder on that to solder it. What's there we go, and then we'll snip all that excess off. Grab my crappy snips. Another thing I like about this wire is it's a solid core wire. So you can bend it into shapes. And don't have to worry about strands. Like, I guess anything else left to do is just to cut this at the right length, and this one's going up and underneath itself, of course. You can do it that way. And we don't need a lot, because we got some coming off of here. But we want enough that it doesn't just want to, on its own, sneak back up into the ship. So let's let that sit relaxed. And I'll say about there. Really, that's all it's going to need, because this part of the dried section is going to be right, right there. And we can always trim it shorter, but right now it's just nice so it doesn't try to sneak its own way back up into the saucer, and then you make it too short here and it goes up inside there. These I like to give healthy junctions because the amount of wire to twist. There we go. Like I said, and we just got to these, we got to connect the one coming from the flasher on the bridge. But that we got to wait till we're putting it together. And it was such a small circuit, just one bulb. I didn't feel like using a connector like that. I mean, I guess I could. Now this we know we don't need that long. There. And what we'll do on this side is make them match these. See how we're pulling. Here we're going to want a little bit of movement because we're going to want these to meet up with the one up there without stressing. I'm going to snip a little larger. There, that makes me feel better. They're the same color coordinated. Now let's shrink tube those guys. We'll shrink tube these once we attach the other. Go with a yellow. Well, you probably get away with a red. I'm thinking yellow because I want it to sleeve over that whole thing. Leaving yellow sleeve over that whole thing. That one, we might have to go a little larger. Let's try green. We're going to do that one just like that. There we go. Okay, then we should probably do a test. Scene lights, come on. This is going to be the fun part because I can't. Oh, I got lucky. So it's sending power, we know that. But I'm still going to feel better if I see what's lighting up. But that I don't really need to test the connection. I can just do that. Yep. Everything is working. I guess what it's to now is to just glue these two halves together. I should leave that loose because we're going to want to test all this. So really all this is kind of working against us right here. Yeah, we can glue this saucer together. That means we can get these impulses in that I've been wanting to get in. Okay, we are ready to glue this together. I guess there's nothing to it but to glue it. I did some tulip, another build up of tulip around there to help them seal any light bleeding. So what's got to happen first is getting these guys, I think, soldered together. Blue is positive. We're going to have to move you in a hair more. And the key is getting, especially with these little tiny SMD wires, is to get the insulation lined up. There we go. Now, can we do the same with the negative? I think the negative, I got a little more wire out here. Yeah. And we'll definitely want to do a test to make sure all that's working. There we go. We got a strobe.
Fairly aggressive, but it's not going to leave any super harsh sand scratches.
But the rest of the stuff we haven't plugged in yet, so. I'm getting the shrink tube on there. It gives a little strain relief. On the solder joint, like if wires start getting tugged. And then the main thing is you don't get any shorts. Oh, I want to do that. All right, now it's just connecting bam bam and bam bam. And we should probably do all this now.
5, a really nice high gloss finish on that model. Take a look again at our instructions and see what we're supposed to do here. We have an inboard and an outboard, so we want to make sure we do it in the right order here.
Hit these. See all that's working. I get alligator clips on here. So I'm going to grab some insulation on one side and then I just bend the wire up. Yeah, we're lighting up pretty good. We'll have to make sure this is dialed all the way down to the slowest setting. Shuttle bay's all lighting up nicely. Impulse engines are impulsing. And our strobe is going. Alright. I wish those went a little slower.
Go. And so you follow the instructions, especially on these assembly pieces like the parts, and kind of see where they go on and things like that. But this is
that's going faster. That's fast.
It can look a certain way. So, okay, we've got this one here.
Alright, I'm liking all of that. So it's just a glue down thing. We're probably going to go with the old Revell around these edges. I'm wondering if I should use some super glue to tack maybe on these. I think this is where the thrusters will be. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we might make sure we get some glue in back here because this is where it's the least, it's springy, because I think this bows down a little bit. Man, there's really nothing to it but to glue it. But I'm saying, I wonder if I tack some super glue in those spots. I want to get plenty because it's going to take a while to go around this thing. Unless I use the, no, it might be sensible and quicker. Like I said, this is pretty much the same stuff. It's just brush on form. Well, you know what? And in this, I can use where this goes. All right, try to get some super glue on here. Just hit these corners just to give us something to hold it together. Time to flip her over and carefully line everything up. Usually I use the back to give me an idea. Now I wonder, do I have that front? If I do, I'm going to clamp it. Because one thing I forgot is to get some tape ready. Oop, that snap. I know that snapped in.
Segment here already. Right back with that. Sit right, everybody.
These are little connectors for the spools, filament spools. So many clamps, it's hard, but I definitely want to get a, especially when I got to hold this. And get some of this extra thin and wick into all the parts. Especially where those sensor arrays are gonna, or those thruster areas are gonna be. Try to get this one to close a little tight. There we go. Sometimes the glue helps soften that plastic. All right, now let's figure out how to set this. Whoop! That's the one we don't want to come off. I need like a roll of tape. I think that would work. Hold this up. Well, there. I got it sitting up on a tape roll, so we'll just let it sit. And then if we have to address anything here, we will. For some reason, I think we might. See if I got enough glue, because I'd really douse some more glue into this area, especially on the underneath. But let's just let her sit for overnight, I'm going to say. Okay, so I got the clamps off and removed some pieces of tape so I could actually take some extra thin Tamiya and wick that into any gaps that are still there to make sure we have a good bond. That's the nice thing about that, is that you can, it'll wick through any little slight gap. I did have to open it up again as it was curing, because this side here, the red light, I don't know if you remember, I had just had the lights going up, but it's also reflecting light down. But these two weren't lining up. I was worried about doing all the edges and everything like that. So I don't know if it's for it to be twisted like that. There's something up with the actual mold. Because I was concentrating on here and really concentrating on this here. So I had to kind of open that up and give it a slight little twist. And what I did is I just opened this corner, stuck this little piece in there to keep it open, and I actually put solar res to make the clear part that's sitting here bigger. So it actually come over to where this light was, and hopefully pick up some light and bring it over here. And it seemed to be doing that to fix it, because there's no way, in order to get those perfectly lined up, I was getting a skewed over here, and these were getting all skewed, and we're even getting some of these popping. Especially you really will notice where the directional thrusters will be. There'll be that yellow decal going over there to show you where the thrusters are that are on all these Starfleet saucers. And yeah, those should be all flush. You have a trench, and then there's a solid part that comes all the way out to the edge, and that's where the thruster will be. So those were all even. So we got them fairly even, but the trick with doing the solar res and making the clear part a little bigger definitely helped. And being that it's off on the bottom, but there's no windows around it, so whatever's reflecting down is not, you can't see it through a window, and up top you can't see it either. So, but that's the best we can get it. But yeah, it's a little bit askewed where all this lines up. This panel line does not line up with that panel line. So I'm gonna check that on the other ships. Removing the tape on most areas is fine. I have a couple little touch-ups we'll have to do there. There's one there, and I think there's one there, and I think that's it. Underside, the tape peeled off. Now we still have these last couple, so we'll see. Oh, and then there's one there. But mostly it's right on these back pieces. Well, I went through and puttied. The good thing about this design of a saucer is you only really have to make sure those phaser bank, or not phaser, those I just can't keep that in my head. Those thruster banks are nice. So it was these two on this side that had the most little issue, and that's probably because of getting this to sit right. These try to get those to line up. Like this other one, it's like almost like it's sitting side by side. If you line up, like even the panel line does not. I mean, actually, the panel line's not that far off. Yeah, it is. I look that way. It's just like a millimeter off. So those were a little bit out. But the nice thing is most of the seam is all hidden in that sensor band. So that was a really smart design. Most of our putting is back here where there's not much of a sensor band because you got a spot, and there's your little sensor bands right in the center. Like I said, this saucer is really nice to go together because that sensor band hides all the seams. I took this file and just ran that down the sensor band because it fits in there perfect, and that cleaned up any glue squish outs or any of that mess. Just went right through, and that gives me a nice even sensor band opening. So I am free to, I think, sand these putty spots. Okay, I got one of the impulse engines in, and actually went around and painted this trench. Just went in with the brush and just painted it in after I went through with the thin, extra thin, and it sealed up all that, any of the little gaps. This actually, one of these sides, I thought I saw some light bleed coming through there, but it might have settled as it sat clamped. I thought I had a little hump. I think it was on the red side since we had to fix what was going on there. But I wasn't liking how this one thruster port, right? There you are. So I went and sanded out a little more, but I got to hit it back with some gray here. And I can brush this on because it's such a thin paint that you won't even see the brush strokes. Like I just touched up the top pieces just by brushing them. And then I'll get this ready and we'll do a clear. I want to make sure I block that. But yeah, that's all I have to do to that. And I want to put a little more of a coat. All right, but let's get this other impulse engine in. Here's that one. That one's looking good. Minimum like leak, but we do have some. I'll just probably take a little black and go around it because these we did paint black and then did the gray. But a lot of times you can't tell until you really get them on there. So we can just touch a little black and then hit it back with the neutral gray. What I'm really concentrating on is the light leak between the two parts, the saucer and the actual piece we're gluing on. But as far as coming through, only one little spot. But mainly it's just, I might have went a little thin with the black. So we'll just touch that up. A little bit up on top now that you really get the light dark. So it's just those little areas. A little bit on that edge there too. Sometimes I keep just dripping this in here and it actually softens the paint up to help it, self light block those seams. All right, let's get this side going. One last dry fit. I don't think it's gonna get any better than that. I tried a little fiber fill in there to try to, and it actually didn't do much for it. It actually hindered it more than it did anything. The cons were way outweighed the pros. Something's happening here. Oh, you're actually pulling out of the connector. It's supposed to snap in there. There we go. Yeah, I'm liking that. But I don't mind them a little bit of sourcey. I did as best I could try to get some Scotch-Brite on the inside and try to get it down there and scuff the clear part. So that did help it spread. I thought about maybe taking some of that foggy frosted masking tape and cutting it out and putting it on the inside, because a lot of times that'll pull stuff too, or a little bit of white paint, just something for the red light to hit, and then it makes it spread instead of just spending its energy going through it. But I'm actually liking this. That's kind of how the thrusters look on the drive section. So let's see how much light leak. Yeah, we got a little bit on the top, but most of it's in the actual impulse engine part. We're actually doing okay on the actual seam. Let's try to get a little bit here. Sometimes the extra thin will melt enough of the paint that it'll actually seal. It'll act like a seal, especially if you let it soften it a little bit and then give it a light press. Not too much, otherwise it'll ooze. Uh-oh. Let's have a filament jam. Uh-oh. There we go. All right, I'm going to take care of a little filament issue. It's made it, I have a new Sunlu filament, and the spool is the hole is a little bit too big, so the spool fell. It opened up because it's one of those reusables. So now I'm just letting it feed until it finishes this print, until I can print some spool adapters for the AMS. All right, crisis averted over there on the printing station. These are great spools, and they're reusable, so they twist. But this is still a hair too big. So let's find out where we're having some little light issues here and just hit it lightly with some black. So I don't think it's going to take much. I must really have this thinned out. This is not covering the whole at all. And I think I do. I think that's thinned out for airbrushing. So we'll just this is what I was originally going to do. Just use my old craft acrylic Anitas. It'll dry faster too. Hopefully this will cover. Yeah. There we go. Try to hit this one. See one little spot right in the middle. There we go. Now we should check the underneath. We'll probably have the same thing. Yeah, this side's not bad at all. Mainly at the seam. There we go. And you. All right. We'll let those sit and dry. Make sure they're still doing their coverage. It looks big and gloppy right now, but as you can see, this one's already, once it dries, it thins, it lays nice and flat. Then I'll go back. Where's my neutral gray? Is that it? Yep. And then we'll go back and touch this up. Then I'm going to be happy if I can get a clear coat on this so we can start actually Aztecing. Then we can open up this big bundle of joy. It comes with 4 sheets. Yeah, see, I got that as best as I could, but it's definitely not as bright as the green. In a certain way, it will be. That way it's a little dimmer. That way it's bright from the back. But it's doing its job. But yeah, how those don't line up when I went right off that seam and right where those pegs were. Yeah, and that's right in that seam. And I'm happy how well that's lighting up. I didn't want it bright. I wanted it to look kind of moody like a recreation deck would. You know, or this is an arboretum, I think, on the D. Well, I got the windows in the bottom. It's not working so bad doing it from the outside, so that's good. You get a little bit of shine where you're wiping the excess off, but then we're going to hit this with a full-on clear again anyway before decaling. The top is all clear coated, the saucer section. So that looks great. Still shiny and ready for decals. That window area back there looks good. Impulse engines look good. Underneath as well. We got a good clear coat on there. I see a little bit of dirt here. I don't know what that's from. Might have been just something on my hands. I didn't realize it. But the windows are looking good. These are kind of a little more recessed than the top. The top I spent time trying to get them close to being flush. I didn't want them completely flush. I wanted them to set in a little bit like the darkened ones. Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to find a good fine point Sharpie to hit all these closed up ones. She's dry. The other scary thing about markers is their clear coats can make them want to run or bleed. So you like have to mist them really light to kind of seal it, and then you get your clear coat on. But this is I'm going to go through all the phaser banks and make sure they're 100% painted. I see some white spots that I can hit. I definitely got to go through and check for any copper hits, like on this inside here. But yeah, I'll show you what, I think I already did, but I can do these up here while I got you on camera running. Yeah, I'm just going in and doing like that and making sure I hit the entire hole so it doesn't, like if you hit at the top of the oval and don't really hit the bottom of the oval, it can kind of want to pull up that way. And I'll wait for it to sink a little bit. Then I give it a quick, pressure go that way, rub down, and then hit it with some UV. Keep it from really sinking. And then if there's still a little more cleanup, you only really hit the outside now. And then I'll just hit it with some UV light. So it's not too bad. But there's a lot of windows to do on here. Probably be having to fill that. But like I said, this takes a little longer. Where the other one, I could have done this whole top, came back, and by then it would have been setting nice. But that's basically it. Very exciting. But boy, it makes it, you can't tell from the camera, but boy, it makes it look so much more finished instead it looks like a bunch of holes in the ship. Because then you can actually see a shine, a clear, like there is a piece of glass in there. So I will continue. So I got all the windows done, even the neck ones. Went and did any paint touch-ups I had to do. And now I am pasteling the Bassard collectors. And this is how the one side came out. And I'm kind of liking that. And once it gets a clear coat, I think it'll tone it down even a little more. So this side I did this not quite red. It's got a little bit of an orange or lighter red. And then I'm using this yellowish orange for the outside because I'm looking at the picture on there. And that's what it did. And maybe I'll go and hit some black in the corners because it does have like a little bit of black around the rim. I'll load some of this on. And I'm just going across the front. At first it might look a little extreme, but you just keep brushing on, trying to almost like work it in. And then I pick the brush that's kind of works well with the diameter because once I do that, I can just keep hitting. And it gives me the right blend where I want the the orange or the red to kind of be more on the outer rim of it, and this yellowish orange be kind of tip center and then fades in on the sides. And it's working really well. Now I think once that gets hit with a clear, that'll tone it down a bit. Get rid of any extra powder buildups. Yeah. Now if this clear coat solidifies this, if I can get a little more red in that spot. Right there. And there. Looks a little weak. Yep, I'm gonna leave it. See what happens. This is an experiment. I haven't done anything like this with clear parts. Yeah, so I just scraped a little bit of these onto a little plate. It's actually a lid to one of my lizards, live animal things, or my turtles. Yeah, I'm liking that. And still has a transparency even before we got a clear coat. So we're ready to clear coat this so we can start Aztecing it. Part I've been waiting for. We'll see how much we'll enjoy it once we get going. Hopefully these go down good.